This is the concluded part 2 of The New White Nationalism and its Connection to Thomas Williams from Russia with Love series and his Truth, Honor, and Integrity Internet Fantasy Narrative. International Propaganda. How this all fits on a larger social spectrum in regards to racism and xenophobia and crosses national boundaries into various types of radical extremism, including the soft, light versions such as what Thomas Williams as pounding his pulpit with, saying it is just the opposite presented as mirrors within mirrors. Please have a look at the spring 2011 entry to the SOVA Center, showing the data on the social effects of these movements in Russia where Levashov's movement began. Levashov's work, Distorted Mirrors, is on the Russian federal list of extremist materials according to this source. An excerpt follows and the link to the entire article can be found in the source list. And this material confirms our suspicions of other research we are working on, the influence of Scientology within these various movements that know no borders when it comes to the rhetoric. Quote: the federal list of the extremist materials was supplemented considerably. For the first time, the Justice Ministry attempted to introduce proper order in the document. In spring, the books by Scientologists that had been put in the list, although court rulings on them had been appealed, were withdrawn from the list, and some items duplicating other ones have also been withdrawn while the numbering was maintained. However, far from all reduplicated items were withdrawn, and unfortunately the list remains essentially non-functional. Ethno-xenophobic materials, among them songs of bands that became cult hits among neo-Nazis, Kolovrat, Zyklon B, Bezumnaya Zilia, Sikia, xenophobic films and clips, ultra-right magazines and newspapers, Russian Will, Rushkaya, well-known anti-Semitic and racist books, The White ABC and Nikolai Levashov's Russia in False Mirrors, slogans Russia for the Russians. Written in a pseudo-Old Russian orthography as apostrophe exclamation mark, and orthodoxy or death. This ban has become quite controversial, a collection of fundamentalist Orthodox sermons by the priest Vasily Novikov. End quote. Mention of related material and recommended reading. More recently, the National Memo published an interesting 2019 article, From Russia with Hate, How Far-Right Terror Became a Global Scourge. Reprinted from Alternet, it describes the Internet influence and effects on society with a very unique viewpoint. The link for this article can also be found in the source list for anyone who may be interested in that facet of this huge jigsaw puzzle. Another excellent foundational read on these subjects is Mass Psychology of Fascism by Wilhelm Reich. A link to the full text version of this written work can be found in the source list, as well. The following Russian propaganda websites links can also be found in the source list. The researcher will need to translate the sites. Be aware some of them cleverly appear to be associated with the United Nations and national governmental agencies. They are not. This is merely added to appear to support the validity of the information they put out. Also keep in mind this rhetoric has bled into all countries and on the surface appear to place the separate countries as conflicting, when in fact, it is the same hateful material with different stages, actors, props, and language, scripts. There is actually a lot of overlap with certain load language terms one can easily see when studying the materials objectively. Russian Public Movement Revival. Golden Age. This website is the active Golden Age revival site based on Nikolai Levashov's movement. It is active and can be found globally in various other presentations that appeal to the particular targeted country. www.rodvzv.info web link. Nikolai Levashov primary website. Here can be found everything Levashov, including an extremely extensive list of all his diploma mill certificates and alleged credentials he claimed in his lifetime. The link can be found in the resource list. State Service Union Anti-Terror, KGB of the USSR. This site claims to be an official KGB site and contains some extremely radical articles worth having a look at if interested in seeing how sick this material really can get. Please note, This author highly doubts the KGB would actually use Blogspot for their official website. Black Sun. And finally, to open a lead-in conversation with Thomas Williams' recent fear porn addition to his fantasy narrative, here is a link for more information on the Black Sun concept. Here is a pretty good, and short, book review regarding the origination of the concept of the Black Sun before the new cage fear porn spins have been applied. The book is excellent, by the way. This is one of the common narratives the religious fanatics and the new cage and Q cyber cults share. And they all are gearing up to ride the bandwagon this year to beat the drums and light the torches. TW's jumping in is not surprising. Especially after his plagiarized spewing of the Russian version of the Levashov movement propaganda. Same underlying concept, just from a different perspective. But if his minions can't see how hypocritical and opportunistic he is behaving now, they likely never will see what they are involved in. The tricky part is the way he is inverting it to sound like they are confronting this schema. But it is exactly the same thing as the Golden Revival propaganda that TW has been promoting in his FRWL charade. Softer, sparklier package is all. For once, I wish these knee-jerk bandwagon-jumping drumbeaters would do some serious, objective research into what they promote. And not the surface spins the voice box promoters peddle. Most of the time even they have no clue to the foundational underpinning of what they are peddling. Closing statements. This short introductory summarization is meant to open a conversation regarding the ongoing investigation into the political and sociological purposes of spreading this type of propaganda. We encourage followers of the truth, honor, and integrity narrative as presented by Thomas Williams to actually do their own objective and thorough research into what they are being told to be fact. And who they are being told is their enemies. We do not simply give lip service to the do-your-own-research motto so many alt-media personalities have loaded and spit back out at honest seekers of truth. And we hope the seeker will also have a look at the other massive collection of ongoing investigations we are actively discussing in THI Team Bubba on Facebook. This is only one small introduction to one branch of many very convoluted and entangled subjects being presented in a glaringly false light by Thomas Williams and an entire network of feigned enemies and allies in this confusing scam and storyline. Recent THI Team Bubba post by Marilee Niatane. I suspect TW has begun down a dark path of a wannabe Levashov, and pushing a long and twisted propaganda diatribe that is as dangerous as the hate of Jewish persons and America. We continually hear the loaded trigger words from TW born in New York of Jewish parents. One of Levashov's main thrusts was America being the financial demon in the puzzle and was to pay Russia back for what was stolen from them. This is a main theme of his The Golden Age movement and is heavily fraught with some evil virus that, according to Levashov, infected the Jewish race, making them the financial demons of this storyline. TW tries to soften this stance by saying the Jewish people have been as victimized as all other groups and sometimes makes a distinction between Zionism and Jewish ideology. But more times than now, he lumps it all together into blaming it on the Jews any chance he gets. Links for much more information about these Russian propaganda sites can be found in the Team Bubba files. What I am showing here is only a very small piece of a much larger umbrella. TW's version appears harmless and somewhat nonsensical, but it is based on a huge, very real social movement that is being revived by not only TW, but other groups as well. We are hearing a rapid increase of TW's claims of jinns and smokies being the demons behind all the evils he is destined to take out, according to his deluded narrative. And these overlays are increasing in his mindset at an extremely rapid pace. Anyone who is not in lockstep with his narrative is automatically labeled as cabal, deep state agents, dark forces, Blackwater, witches, and now the latest, the Order of the Black Sun. He sprinkles in accusations that we are pedophiles and human traffickers. And a whole lot more. And then, if one considers it as Russian funds and organizations backing the whole Mana World Holding Trust and Kingdom of Mana sagas, the workings behind the curtain have an entirely different flavor in my opinion. And as a side note to consider is the push from China in the same manner behind the curtain of the blue chicken, sphere being alliance and edge of wonder, et al., saga versions to cover more bases.